The Scott Ryfun Radio Show.
I'm sorry. I'm still laughing at that. It still kills me. Hey, how are you, everybody? Good morning. Welcome. I'm glad we all made it back after yesterday because it was very, 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 very hot yesterday. It's good to see you guys this morning. I see people already just burbling up in the chat. And we've got, of course, Mikey Nip chiming in from Alabama, by the way. Again, it is not a morning unless Paul McClellan gives me a big thumbs up. Lisa has been there consistently throughout. We appreciate that. No doubt about it. 147 says hello to us. Jim is there. I'm glad to see him. Miss seeing him at trivia. Back in the day, he used to show up at WePub. Number 8 is there. Are you not working, number 8? Tia is there. Good morning. Kills me. How do you think the raccoon feel? Yeah, right. All right. Got a lot of folks saying hey this morning. I appreciate it all. And welcome to whatever it is that we're doing here this morning. Yesterday, good day, but I will tell you, I'm already falling behind on phone calls. I apologize if you're somebody who called me yesterday and I haven't gotten back to you. I apologize. There's some folks who also have not gotten back to me either, so I feel bad, but this is how this goes, unfortunately. Let's see. Just view video. That's all you got to do. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's senior citizens right there. That's what that is. So anyway, it's good to see you guys. A lot of people already loading in to the broadcast, and so let's just get started with this stuff. Yesterday, I guess, yeah, Tuesday. No. This is Thursday. So this would have been 2 days ago, school board meeting. They did a very, very significant thing, in my opinion. What was that? That was they passed the cell phone ban in high schools. They extended the cell phone ban to high schools. I think this is huge, and I think it's great, and I've been pulling for this for years, and I know a lot of you have been, what if my child needs me? And again, there are phones all over the place in schools. They'll be okay. And the big question I always have for people is, what if your child needs you? What did you do when you needed your parents when you were in school? Well, it's different. Things are worse today than they were then. Actually, no, crime is actually much better than it was 50, 40 years ago. You're all right. And what the other one I hear all the time is, what if there's a school shooting? Your kid being able to call you is not really going to help the situation any. That's what I'll say. If I had to make things worse, because all these parents will come charging down there in the middle of a shooting when they need to get the scene under control. So school shooting, not a good excuse for kids having a cell phone. And also, by the way, I hate to be the guy who says this, and then what will happen is someday there will be a school shooting nearby, and people go, "See, you didn't take it seriously," and I do take it seriously, but I also have to be realistic about it. The odds of a school shooting happening to your child are. Your child will get struck by lightning twice before you actually get involved in a school shooting. I mean, that's just, again, I know they show up on the news, but there's a reason they show up on the news, and that is because they don't happen every day. It is not an average, everyday, normal thing. I'll give you a really good example, in fact. This. I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at this man's misfortune. This is horrible. This is disgusting. But I don't see people out there going, we've got to do something to stop people using their genitals to start a fire. Why? Because it's not average, everyday, normal stuff. It doesn't happen on the regular. That is the essence of news right there. If it were something that happened every day, it wouldn't be reported on. The exception may be shootings in Savannah. This seems to be happening every day. And this is a story from WTOC. The Savannah police responding to a shooting. And this was last evening, by the way, at about 6:15. And that's not even There it is. Savannah, this is Shelby Coates' story. Savannah Police Department was on the scene of a shooting on West 31st Street on Wednesday evening. Police are currently investigating a shooting in the 600 block of West 31st Street. Officers responded to the scene around 6:15 p.m. Once on scene, officers found someone shot in the leg. That must mean Roger Murtaugh did it, because Roger Murtaugh was always trying to teach Riggs to shoot people in the leg, which, as much as I love Shane Black as a screenwriter, that is a deep, deep, deep writing flaw right there. And it's kind of a flaw that gets revealed by liberals, because you're not going to go try and shooting people in the leg. If you have to shoot at, if you're in law enforcement, and I know my law enforcement people will back me up on this. If you're in law enforcement and you have to draw and you have to shoot, you are going to shoot center mass, easiest way to hit somebody, and you're going to try to bring them down. You're not going to go, let me shoot them in the leg so they can continue coming at me. And yeah, you understand what I'm saying. Let's see, what else do we have in the I'm going to check the comments, because we've been talking about this stuff for a little while. I've been working. Yesterday was brutal trying to get a jump on a day. Yeah, that's a good idea, to be going early on this stuff. Very good idea, because it's going to get hot fast today. We're talking heat indices in the 105 to 110 range again today. So, yuck. I know. You could post to Facebook faster. Yeah, that's true. Well, and that's the other thing is, going back to cell phones in schools, if you had a school shooting, yes, a kid could put it on Facebook. But a kid shouldn't be putting it on Facebook, because, again, what happens is, and we've seen it time and time and time again, when there's some big emergency incident. We had a thing several years ago where there was a storm coming, and there was tornadic activity, and all the parents ran down to the schools to get their kids out instead of letting their kids be in the giant building that was constructed to be really safe. And the giant building that was constructed to deal with a tornado much better than you driving around on the streets. But people immediately, my child has to be with me. And sometimes that's not always the safest place. Yeah, that's true. They could post to Facebook faster, and that would make it more chaotic and worse when they're trying to secure a scene. Carpe diem. Oh, there you go. Literally heard that in your voice, number 2, when I said, okay. I'm not sure what I said now. If he did it to himself, that's not really misfortune. It's just awful. That's what it is. Another day with a Y, so Savannah shoots. Yes, absolutely. I thought Savannah was, and it's funny you bring that up, Philip Ball, because one of the things that I was thinking about when I was reading up on all this stuff this morning, doing a little show prep, was that meltdown on social media the other day that Mayor Van Johnson had. If you recall, and I'll bring you up to speed on this, because I know not everybody heard it, not everybody saw it, but Savannah Morning News did an article. These, according to the FBI data, are the 10 most dangerous cities in Georgia. Now, I was glad when they did that article that they actually confined it to FBI data, and they didn't just go get it from one of these alarm companies, because we've talked about this before. You'll see that every so often. It just happens that there are massive Facebook articles that start showing up every so often, showing the most dangerous cities in the state, and your city is always right at the top of the list. And strangely enough, when you find out who's posting that article over and over again, turns out to be an alarm company that is willing to sell you an alarm to protect you as you live in the most dangerous city in the state. And so thus, you get the gossip campaign. We had it for years. Brunswick's the most dangerous city in the state. You look at that. It's terrible. And the numbers they were using, I remember this, the numbers they were using were Glenn County's crime numbers. And then they were saying per capita, Brunswick's the worst city in the state. Why? Well, because Brunswick Metro, Glenn County, and people were taking the number of crimes in Glenn County and then using the population of the city of Brunswick, which is in the 13,000 something range. And they were going, look at how many crimes per capita in Brunswick. But it wasn't really. It was Glenn County's crimes, which is, 90,000 almost people. And they were using the per capita numbers, basing it on the 13,000 population of Brunswick, which is, again, wrong. But anyway, that having been said, I was glad to see when Savannah Morning News did that article, they didn't rely on one of those companies, but they put together a list based on FBI data of the most dangerous cities in Georgia based on FBI crime statistics. The funny thing was Savannah did not show up in the top 10. And yet still, Mayor Van Johnson had to do an entire screed on social media decrying the list and talking about how bad the list was and how inaccurate the list was. And Savannah's not really. And at some point, like in the middle of it, he said, and Savannah's not even on the list. But anyway, it's really bad and Savannah's really safe. And yet we continue to see shooting after shooting after shooting. And, you know, the sad thing is somebody got shot in the leg. This one will be forgotten because nobody died. And that's just the thing. Legs are very bleedy. That's true with the thigh in particular, because you got a major artery right there. I mean, if you've and Bryant's he's done law enforcement work. But I've heard tale from some of these guys that, you know, somebody will get in a wreck, they'll break their femur and it'll nick the artery there and they'll be fine. They'll be, oh yeah, I'm great. I'm good. Yeah. I have a broken leg. And then they're just dead because they bled out from that artery right there. All right. Philip. Oh, look at Philip. He's bringing some history. Let's see what Philip has to say. Number 32. On this day, July 9th, 1776, General Washington had the newly adopted Declaration read to his troops in New York City after they, along with the Sons of Liberty, marched to a statue of King George, and it was melted down into 42,000 musket balls to be shot back into British troops. There you go. Oh, there's a Twitter account. If you do Twitter, that's really cool. It is a 1776 account, and literally like every day they do updates on Twitter as if it were happening in real time 1776 instead of right now 2026. It's really neat thing. It reminds me of how many years ago was that? There was I guess it was about 10 years ago. There was an app, early iPad app, that was a Civil War app. I guess it was like 150th anniversary of Civil War. So it would have been 15 years or so ago, 15 years ago. And they were History Channel's behind that one. And they were, it was a newspaper app, basically. And it was a newspaper every day with all of the events of that date, whatever date you were on, that was happening in the Civil War 150 years previous. And it was really neat. It was, and sadly, they just kind of killed the support for that app after a while. And I would love to have been able to just keep it and go through it again. But unfortunately, could not. Charles Blocker is with us. Good morning, sir. Good to have you here. Let's see. Good morning. When I moved to Savannah, I was told not to buy a house anywhere in the West Side or state name streets. Now it seems to just not buy in Savannah at all. You know, people with sense seem to be going to Pooler. People with sense seem to be going to Port Wentworth. I haven't. How nice, by the way, is the amphitheater in Port Wentworth? I saw they just announced ZZ Top and Cheap Trick coming to the amphitheater in Port Wentworth. I thought that was pretty neat. That's in September. It's on a Sunday night, so I don't know. You know, I don't know what my status is going to be come September. I have no idea. But anyway, we'll see. I may be able to go to the show. I'll be honest with you. I started looking up recent Cheap Trick shows on YouTube yesterday because there are people just go to shows. I can't do that. I can't go to a show and sit and film the whole thing because I would rather just enjoy it. But there's some people who show up at shows and just use their phone and film the whole thing. And God bless the people who do that because they give people like me a chance to see them. But I've seen Cheap Trick like 3 times. I'd like to see him one more time. And it looks like, just based on some of the recent footage, might not be that much longer. So I may sneak up for that show just for them and then take off. Let's see. Jim says, I had to stop trivia. My answer was always Jacques Baptiste. And yes, once he left, it could never be Jacques Baptiste. Now, Paul, is that comment in response to this? That's what I'm just asking. Because if so, you deserve to sit in the corner for the rest of the morning. Oh, good morning, Tony. Good morning. Good morning, 149. And of course, hey, there's one of our new numbers. I didn't have a number, but I don't know what it is. No. What do you mean I didn't tell you? Come on. You know I told you. I had to have told you. It's like 150. It's 150 or something. Let me pull up the list because I did say I will give. No, it's 160. I'm sorry. It's 160. I'll give 3 a day, and that's it. Because I don't want it to get bogged down in that. So, yeah, you're 160. And wear that proudly, Kathy. Get a button right there. It just says 160. And when people ask you about it, you can tell them what it's all about. Good morning, David. David is only here so he can check out my Star Wars toys. Let's see. Savannah Stan. It's mostly safe till the sun goes down. But hey, you know what, though? That shooting yesterday on 31st Street was at 6:15. And 6:15 is, I mean, you look at the crime scene photos that the news people gathered, and it was broad daylight. It's kind of amazing. Good to have you here, sir. ZZ Top. Yeah, ZZ Top is the headliner. I just, ZZ Top's all right. But I'm just much more of a Cheap Trick guy. Good morning, Ricky. Good morning, Gary. And Diane has found us. I am so glad Diane has found us. Look at this. South Georgia 40, number 70. She's been out for a few days. Uh-oh. We're glad to have you here. Oh, 32 years. You remembered my 32 years too. How about that? Thank you, Diane. I'm so glad you're there. So glad you're there. Well, yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's feels like romper room this morning because I'm naming names or what? No, it's okay. It's all right. So bad in Savannah, police will tell you take personal belongings out of your car, leave the doors unlocked so thieves won't break your windows out when come car shopping. Okay, I think we understand that though. But that's not good. Do you remember back in the day? I had one. I had to buy one. The detachable faceplates on the car stereos. And you had to have those because you don't like my angle. I'm sorry. That's all I got. You had to have the detachable car faceplate because people would just steal your stereo. Otherwise, in fact, I had my stereo stolen. Yeah, I had my stereo stolen my first night working in radio. Technically, I was a part-timer. I had been recruited to work part-time overnight weekends, which basically meant that Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night from about 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., I had to sit in the radio station. This was my first job. I had to sit in the radio station, and there were 2 stations on the Causeway. It was WMOG. It was MOG, AM, and FM, I guess, basically. It was 1490 and 92.7, and 1490 ran what we call adult standards now, old music. At the time, there were still big bands and stuff like that, but it kind of graduated to just like crooners and, Al Martino and that kind of thing. But you recall having a tape deck? Hang on. You recall having a tape deck you could slide into and out of your dashboard. Yeah, it had like a handle on the bottom. You pulled it out by the handle. Yes, absolutely. I was not fortunate enough to have that. I'm a man of more common means. But I was working weekend overnight, and the deal was you had both stations were run by satellite, and on 1490, 1490 MOG, Wonderful Marshes of Glen, there was 1 minute at the top of the hour that was silent, because at the top of the hour they played Mutual News till 5 after, and then the satellite music service didn't pick back up until 6 after. So largely speaking, my job was to make sure that something played in that 1 minute every hour, and then for the next 59 minutes, I just kind of sat there. It was easy but very boring money, and I wound up bringing a lot of books, a lot of snacks. I wound up buying a little 5-inch TV because we didn't have a TV in the building, and it just was one of those. It was almost like a camp out you had to do. But anyway, the first night I was there, I got there, and I went in and I started doing my paperwork and everything, and I realized I'd forgotten something in my car. I'd been there 10 minutes. So I went out to my car And I noticed that my front door was slightly ajar. And I was like, did I get out so quickly that I didn't close my door all the way? That's kind of weird. And I thought, no, I had to have. And then I looked, and we have those little, I don't know if they make cars with these little side vent windows anymore. You know, the ones I'm talking about? You have a little lever, you push them out. And I had little side vent windows in the back, and one of them was broken, shattered. And I realized what someone had done. I had gotten out of the car, I had closed it, I had locked it. Someone had shattered that window, unlocked the back door, then used the open back door to unlock the front door, and then go in and steal my stereo. Now, I will give them credit for being nice enough to not just shatter my driver's side window. That was nice of them. But at the end of the day, within 10 minutes of my being there, they had stolen my stereo. 10 minutes. And so I had to go get the detachable faceplate after that. Now, the good news was that I had gotten the car stereo that I had in the car from Buds, and it wasn't any good anyway. It would work for about a minute and a half, and then it would stop. So I actually benefited from that. But yeah, I had to get the detachable faceplate. Sadly, I wound up having one. Can you post your YouTube link? Sure. Yeah, hang on. I can actually do this. I probably should come up with a graphic for it, though, to tell you the truth. And we do. And thank you for mentioning that, because we do need to make sure we have YouTube subscribers. We're trying to get that number up to 1,000. And we actually made a really good progress yesterday. Yesterday, we weren't even at 650, and now we're close to 690 now. So we did really well yesterday. But this is supposed to unlock some algorithmic opportunities if we get to 1,000 subscribers. So there we go. That is no, that's not it. Hang on. Ooh, I missed. I'm one thing I am is a bad typist. Let's try that again. Don't use that link, because that's not a good, it probably won't even show up as a link. Let's try this. That makes more sense. Okay, there it is. Okay. Whew. Okay, got it now. Do you remember the news guy at WMOG? Are you talking about John Lane? Yeah, John Lane was, I was a kid. John Lane was already long gone from the place by the time I was there. I do have audio of, and I hope I still have it after all the shuffling that has gone on, but I have audio of John Lane Day that they had at WMOG one time. I had it on a cassette. A guy named Bill Lewis, who used to listen to the program when I was on MOG with Ed Wright, had a cassette of that, and he brought it down and he gave it to us. And it was, it's really neat. I actually posted it in my old podcast feed once or twice. I have to make sure I still have that audio, because I would hate to lose that through all of this. So anyway, let me see if I can delete those bad links here. Yep, I can. So that bad link is going to go away, and that bad link is going to no, don't show it. Okay, it's not, that one's not going to let me delete it. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I can delete the one, but I can't delete the other one. Interesting. All right. Well, anyway, yeah, John Lane, he did it forever and ever. He did it on GIG, and then he moved it to MOG, and it became a staple on MOG, and news around the town was the big deal at 8:30. And in fact, one of the things I was going to do, it took me a while to locate it, and Harry James pushed me, and I don't think he even knows that I have what I have. I found the original music that they used for that, and I was going to do a return for the show with that, but did not get an opportunity to, unfortunately. But I do have the original music for News Around the Town, the actual original recording. It's good stuff. In case you missed it, Bonnie Tyler. No, I didn't miss that Bonnie Tyler passed away. And the reason I didn't miss that Bonnie Tyler passed away is because it was kind of like when the USA lost its soccer the other day, and like every news app I've ever installed in the history of mankind on my iPad popped up with push notifications. Oh, Bonnie Tyler has passed away. She was 75. Yeah, remember, she was like in a coma. And I don't remember. I was thinking she had come out of the coma and had been okay, but I guess she wasn't that okay. But yeah, Bonnie Tyler has passed at the age of 75. She'd had heart issues for a while. So sad to see it, though. All right, let's see. What else are we going to get into this morning? Oh, yes, of course. Again, going back to Port Wentworth. We were talking about the Port Wentworth amphitheater, but this struck me as really interesting, odd. What do you want to say about this? But there was some law enforcement activity happening in Port Wentworth. TOC, I don't think, has that story up. Yeah, they do. They still have it up. Shelby Coates here. There was heavy law enforcement presence in the area of Gooseneck Road and Old Mill Road in Port Wentworth on Wednesday night. Savannah Police, Chatham County Police, Port Wentworth Police, all on the scene of an incident within a residential community. And here's the interesting part. WTOC got video from a nearby home surveillance camera of police on the scene. In the footage, viewers can hear a voice on a bullhorn say, "This is Savannah Police Department. You need to come out the front door of the residence." That doesn't sound good. Chatham County Police and Savannah police officers were looking for a suspect in a criminal investigation, and SPD is handling that investigation. So, and SPD would not confirm that they are handling the investigation, which, that's how it goes there. This one was pretty disturbing story. And it's like, when you start reading it, you go, well, it's not that disturbing. Then you read more and you go, oh, this is quite disturbing as you get through it. And I don't know if you've seen this one or not. This is another TOC story from Augusta Malus. I don't know if that's how you say it or not. Parents of students at Richmond Hill Middle School say they are outraged. And again, when parents at middle schools are outraged, I usually don't get worked up about it. But this one's kind of work-upable. This one's kind of one of those. Not just by the charges against former teacher Rory Mooney, but by what the school never told them. The school never told you what happened to your father. Mooney, a former language arts teacher and sports coach at Richmond Hill Middle School, was denied bond at his arraignment last week on felony child molestation charges. He also turned down a plea deal. So, they offered him something, and he went, nope, I'm going through with the trial. Okay. But that's not where it gets bad. Mooney faces charges of child molestation and making a false statement. Amanda, a mother whose daughter had Mooney as her sixth grade teacher, said she found out about his arrest the same way many parents did, scrolling through a community Facebook page. I've told you many times before about the power of Facebook. It is kind of scary, to be honest with you. It can be frightening. And the reason is because lots of things can be disseminated. Some of them might not be true. In this case, let's just say her daughter had trusted Mooney. He was one of her favorite teachers. Why weren't the parents notified, Amanda said? Because we needed to have this discussion with our kids 9 months ago, not when he was indicted. And, and this is one of those things. There are a lot of accusations against teachers that are like this, sadly. A large number of them turn out to not be true. We've had a couple recently, in recent years, in this area that turned out to not be true. And so, the problem, though, is once they're arrested and once the booking photo shows up everywhere, and once the news story breaks, then everybody just assumes they're guilty. And then it's very tough for them to pick up the pieces of their lives when it turns out they're not guilty, or if it turns out they're not guilty. But the problem, obviously, is parents should know when this kind of thing happens. When this kind of arrest happens, parents need to know. Sadly, they are going to immediately pick up torches and assume guilt. But, now in this particular situation, they may be right to assume guilt. We'll talk about that as we go on through the story. The school conducted an internal investigation into the allegations against Mooney, according to court documents. During that investigation, Mooney submitted a written statement denying he had ever engaged in sexually inappropriate behavior in his classroom. That written denial is now at the center of a separate charge of making a false statement. Prosecutors said an 11-year-old student reported that Mooney exposed and pleasured himself in front of students in his classroom in October 2025, which, again, you don't know how often when I'm doing show prep, when I am looking at things, news stories, stuff to talk about, how often I see something and I go, what human being would do this? Like the things that happen, the things that people do completely blow me away because I don't know. I don't live the life that most of these people live for whatever reason. And I don't think you do either. Now, here's the thing. They said an 11-year-old student reported he exposed and pleasured himself in front of students, which means multiple. He denied it. But then investigators found a rag. This is just, the good news is I did not take my morning shower yet. And I'm going to do it after I get off this program. And there's a good reason for that because I'm going to need to shower off after this story. This is awful. Investigators found a rag under his desk that contained his DNA. We assume that means he didn't have a nosebleed on it. In a second round of interviews, Mooney admitted to investigators that he had pleasured himself in front of students, according to prosecutors. Despite the internal investigation, parents of students who trusted Mooney said they were never told why he left and their children were never offered any support. And that is a thing, a school. And again, I know there are a lot of false allegations out there, but the reality is when the allegation is made to the degree that there are charges and someone is arrested, even though, as I said, there are times when these people are exonerated, everyone needs to know. Everyone, the community needs to know. And I know, again, it's very difficult for some of these people to pick up their lives and move on. But they need to know that the allegation has been made. And in this particular instance, the guy seems to have admitted. Amanda said when she sat down with her daughter to discuss what happened, she asked whether the school had ever reached out. Her daughter told her no. They could see, obviously, how these kids were, Amanda said. But again, parents should know these things. And yeah, I was the guy who said earlier, if there's a school shooting in the middle of something and you don't call all the parents because they'll come running down there. But in this particular instance, an arrest has been made. The guy's not in the school. You need to tell the parents. No doubt. WTOC reached out to Bryan County School District multiple times, but has not received a response. They also filed a formal open records request. And I think that's kind of neat because when you file a formal open records request, you do it with a tuxedo on. That's really cool. It's really cool. They wanted documents related to how the district handled the case, including whether parents and students were ever notified or offered support. The offered support thing, I don't know. Notify them. The whole we've got to have counselors for every bad thing that ever happens. I'm just so past that because it's just part of the coddling of the American child. And we coddle our children way too much. Let's see. Where do I find the link to YouTube? It is it's up there. It's up. It's just youtube.com @ScottRifen. But easy to do. Where do you get your reputation? Oh, I understand. This is a very, very difficult thing, and I think about, I'm not going to mention any of the names of people who've been falsely accused and exonerated, but I can tell you, I can think of 3 cases in the last 6-7 years where that exact thing has happened. And I'm not going to mention the names because I'm not going to dredge it up and put them in a bad spot again. But, I understand that. But at the same time, it does have to be reported. It is public knowledge. That was one of those things we had a conversation before we didn't have a program anymore. We had a discussion because there are a lot of people who don't like those crime pages where they post everybody's mugshots and they post everybody's arrest record, because it is public information. And some of these guys, that's how they make their living, is they go get all the mugshots and they post them on Facebook and on a website that is loaded with spam. But, and some people are like, well, this shouldn't be. They should only release this information if they're convicted. And I know that sounds like high-minded and noble, but what you are saying is, I would like the government to be able to arrest people and not tell people that the person has been arrested until such time as they are convicted. And, I think about people who spend what they call DA time in jail, where, you just sit in jail and sit in jail and sit in jail, waiting on a trial, 10, 11, 12, 13 months waiting for your trial. And then you're exonerated. Is it right for somebody to sit there for 13 months and no one can know where they are? Of course not. Should the government be allowed to just go get people and put them in jail and not tell people? No. So I understand, when you're trying to protect people from having their reputations destroyed, but this is just one of those intersections where it's difficult to be in that position. The biggest thing is that you can publicize as a media. I think you have a responsibility to publicize an exoneration as loudly as you publicize the accusation. I think the media doesn't always do their job with that. There was one particular case that we had several years ago where, we had reported on one of those types of allegations. Story didn't look good, and so we didn't encourage people to rail on the accused. But at the end of it, when the person was exonerated, we made sure to go blaring headline, website coverage, show coverage, Facebook coverage. We made sure to make it very well known that the allegations were not only dropped, but the accuser fully recanted. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that there was no physical way what he accused, what he alleged he saw and what he alleged happened, it couldn't have happened. It physically couldn't have happened. And so the accuser recanted. And so, I think it's the press's job to be just as loud in the exonerations as they are in the accusations. But at the same time, they should be just as loud in the convictions as well. That's the way to do it fairly and evenly and equally. And you wonder why. There's a lot of reasons why homeschooling is popular these days. And it's gotten more and more popular since COVID. And there are very understandable reasons. There are also a lot of people in a lot of legislatures around the country that are trying to shut down homeschooling because it has gotten so popular. And the argument is always, well, you're taking money away from government schools. Yeah, because you have fewer children. It's okay. You can do that. Smash the like button. Correct. Yes, please do that on YouTube. I told you we were in the upper sixes. We're at 688 right now. So we're looking at 700. Again, the goal is 1,000. But we're staring in the face of 700. Let's see if we can get to 700 this morning. I saw a few people who have posted things on Facebook directing people to go subscribe to the page. I appreciate that. Everything like that helps. So thank you for doing what you've done. It is, just know that it is very much appreciated. Let's see. Let's take a look at. Oh, yeah. Yes. God is going to start charging you taxes in Savannah. Starting in September, God will be determining how much you pay in taxes. I know Brunswick tried to enact this a while back too, because Gary can speak to this. I really don't like these stormwater taxes. I really am not a fan of God dictating how much you pay in property and stormwater drainage tax. I know there's, well, you have an impervious surface on your property, and thus the rain won't go into the dirt on your property. It goes into the stormwater system, and it's all a giant excuse. Well, let me just say this. Let me go to the story. Let me go to the story that was published in Savannah Morning News. Evan Lassiter published this. And again, just listen to the way this goes. The official launch of Savannah's stormwater utility fee is now scheduled. Savannah Water customers will find the new fee on their water bills starting September 1st, and informational flyers are being sent out in customers' next bill as advance notice. The Savannah City Council approved the new utility fee in January on a 5-4 vote. Proponents have touted the measure as critical to addressing flooding by creating a dedicated funding first for stormwater maintenance and neighborhood-scale capital projects. Why, with as much money, and that's the thing that drives me nuts with all new taxes, is like, why, with as much in taxes as people pay, do we suddenly say, well, we don't have money for this really basic need? I mean, when you look at things that cities are and should be responsible for, police and fire, storm, just infrastructure, basically roads, drainage, that kind of thing. Those are the big two. And outside of that, anything else, like a lot of these cities, and I think Savannah's engaging in it. I know Brunswick's engaging in it, where they're starting their own housing companies, basically. That's not really your basic function. If you're spending money on anything other than public safety and infrastructure, and you need money, you don't have enough money for public safety and infrastructure, you should be taking money from other places instead of going back to the people, and this time letting God decide how much you're going to get charged, because that's basically, it's going to be, how much rain did we have? Oh, well, you've got this much pavement on your surface, on your property, and that means that this amount of rain, God determined, versus this amount of, that's how much you're going to pay in your taxes. And again, if we don't have money for infrastructure, but we do have money for anything that's not infrastructure or public safety, you need to re-examine your budget. Just period, paragraph, end of story. That's all there is to it. And last thing I really have that I brought to the table this morning was this article from the Paper of Record today. Actually, there are a few things I got notes on in the Paper of Record. This is the only graphic I guess I brought in from the Paper of Record today. But I've got a real compromise for this. I don't know why this is a thing. I'll be honest with you. Hang on a second. Have they tried the stormwater drainage, the impervious surface tax? Yeah, I don't know but I'll bet it did. Harry, stormwater tax started in California. The tax was based on the size of your roof. No more, though. No more. Now it's based on the amount of impervious surface on your property, which means pavement, which means concrete, basically. So, yeah, it's again, if you're not doing public safety, you're not doing infrastructure, you don't need to be starting a new tax. You need to be figuring out what you can not spend money on. Pierre, happy birthday. Did you have a birthday the other day, Pierre? Audio works. There are no ads trying to sell me stuff I don't need. Well, let me also say this. That won't be forever. Once all of my paperwork is signed and looked at by attorneys and all of that, there will be ads. At some point, there will be an ad, but not yet. And I'll say this also. There will be ads, but there will not be as many ads. And there will be zero ads. I'm very proud to say zero ads for Las Culturistas. That is a promise I make to you right here, right now. There will be no ads for Las Culturistas on this feed ever. Housing, transportation. Next, they'll be giving city rolling stock vehicles away. Wait, the mayor already suggested this. Yes, the mayor did suggest. Oh, we've got to get rid of rolling stock, but we want to make sure that someone who deserves it. And I'll just go ahead and tell you the somebody deserving it is not the place of the government to figure that out. That's a judgment call that should not be. And yeah, that's a Cosby Johnson thing, and that is not right. That's very, 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 very bad. Keep the kids and pets safe tax. They'll do it at some point. Correct. We all have to make money. Let's see. Wait, doesn't the county determine how much impervious surface? Oh, impervious. So your voice to texting, I'll bet. You have on your property through zoning and other ordinances. So they created the situation and tax you for it. More or less. Will there be ads for yesterday? Is that a thing? Is that a thing? What about ads for? Well, I mean, I don't plan on there being those ads. I can't say for a fact if I will say it's probably not the audience, but then again, there's some folks in the audience for whom that may be the thing actually. But what I'll say is again, no Las Culturistas ads. That I can promise you. We have the power to have the opportunity to join the power to end stroke. No. So wait a minute. Was that an iHeart podcast? Is that what that was? Were they running promos on because I can't sit and listen to all that stuff. I couldn't sit. Now I guess I could, but I don't. Oof. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I remember it very, very well. And, I'll make you a new one if you guys are coming on board, but I can't say that out loud. So I didn't. Just you and I have had no conversations about that, as you know. Brunswick, yes, this was a thing. Brunswick Housing Authority writing off thousands of debt yet again this month. Brunswick News reporting that one reason renters are moving out before their lease expires is because when they get their tax returns, they move out, leaving BHA holding the bag. Think about that for a minute. They get such a big tax refund, they head for greener pastures. That is absolutely crazy. Yes, that is all true. It's and Commissioner Booker is on there going, and I understand what he's saying when he goes, well, they're trying to figure out ways to narrow it, and he said, well, I'd rather lose $10,000 a month than $19,000 a month. But I guess my concern with that is it's not a binary choice. I mean, you shouldn't be accepting of losing anything a month. But yeah, I did read that article, and they said that that they have a lot of move outs in Brunswick Housing Authority when people get their taxes. They get their tax returns, and then they just disappear in the middle of the night. And yeah, a lot of that is because a lot of those guys wind up getting earned income tax credits, EITC. And it's a big amount of money for some people, and basically an earned income tax credit. We talk about, and let me just go ahead and let me get really deep here for you for a second. We talk sometimes about universal basic income. And universal basic income is, a lot of us go, oh, no, universal basic income. We can't have that. Government can't be, because that's, akin to socialism, et cetera, et cetera. Let me go ahead and give you a couple of things. One, Milton Friedman was actually in favor of some form of that. But let me go a little deeper here and say, essentially what earned income tax credit is you don't make much money, and there's just a kind of a certain standard of living that people say must be accepted. So if you only make this much, and you should be making this much, then they will give you, with your tax return, enough money to get you to that level up to a certain point. And so essentially we do have universal basic income in this country through the earned income tax credit. I mean, really, there is conceptually, and in the end result, there's no difference between universal basic income and having earned income tax credit. The problem, and the reason why people just have the ability to just get up and go when they get their earned income tax credit money, is that they're not required to count their government benefits on their taxes. So when you get thousands and thousands of dollars in SNAP, and you get thousands of dollars for this and thousands of dollars for that and welfare payment, whatever, none of that is counted. So your actual income is still here. Then you get EITC, and then you get all the government benefits that you don't have to report as income. And so it's a lot of people get a lot more money than they should be getting anyway. Again, it is a negative tax. You're correct. And that's, again, it's a thing. Well, weirdly, and it's not a thing that we think about a lot on the conservative side of things, but in fact, it's a thing we generally try to reject on the conservative side of things, this notion of income inequality being some relevant major thing. But it's actually a thing Milton Friedman obsessed over a good bit during his lifetime. He spent a lot of time in the 60s kind of trying to work out solutions to income inequality. And one of the things that he came up with was a negative income tax, which is what the EITC is. And it's essentially what universal basic income is. Again, the problem is that you pile government benefit on top of government benefit on top of government benefit, and then you pretend like none of those benefits happened, and this poor guy is only making this amount, so he needs another gigantic infusion of money. And it would be more honest if people had to report the government benefits they received on their taxes. I'm not saying make them pay taxes on them, though. But the entire accounting of what you have received throughout the year as income should at least be, even if you count the government money as exempt, there should be a totaling of all of that towards your income, towards what you made that year. And then, then do you qualify for a huge EITC or not? Continue to ask Trump's signature for more housing. Until the leaders are held accountable, responsible for paying their debt instead of American taxpayers should not be given anything. Streets should be their home. And they're not going to allow that to happen. And Republicans aren't going to allow that to happen. It just is a thing. Milton also told us you can have a generous welfare state or open borders, but not both. Yes, and that is correct. But yeah, a lot of people do. And I really tripped to this because it was last year. It was last spring. I've talked about this a little bit before about, my time doing jury duty a while back was, it really ignited a reading binge that I went on that was just like crazy. I was tearing through books like you wouldn't believe. And it started with that Milton Friedman biography because it'd been sitting on my shelf for a while and I'd been staring at it and wanting to tackle it. And I thought, well, I'm going to be sitting there waiting for jury duty all day. Let me see what I can do with that. And, I started in on that Milton Friedman biography and just really went through it. And it was great. But that's one of the things I learned in that book was that he was concerned about income inequality, which again is not a thing that Republicans think about or want to think about. And his solution was a negative income tax, which essentially is what the earned income tax credit is. Again, the problem is it's distorted, but it's there. The other thing, though, too, is to me, I feel like if the government creates a floor, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like if the government creates a floor for income, you can only have, and economists, please feel free to jump in here. If the government creates a floor for income, and this is the lowest you can possibly make, otherwise we'll help you get to this point, doesn't that really become zero? And doesn't that then affect prices up and down the economy? And really affect people at that low level as well, because it will affect prices and move them up. Because in effect, that is what zero is, and thus kind of all price that goes into this amount is just kind of absorbed, and it just escalates from there. I don't know. That's the way I feel about it anyway. Biggest obstacle to wealth accumulation in this country are the tax codes. And the biggest thing you can do to accumulate wealth in this country as just a regular old person like you and me is buy a house. I'm just telling you, it's one of the things that's amazing to me is like millennials and zennials have shied away from wanting to buy a house. Well, I think the millennials are doing it now, and I don't know where they're getting the money from. But for a while there, the millennial thing was to go get a tiny house or even a portable tiny house. And that seems to have passed, which is a good thing. Poor don't pay enough. Well, technically they don't. Technically they pay nothing. So yes, that would be correct. So is the housing shortage really a shortage of subsidized or free housing? That's one of those things that I don't think that's what, but I don't know. When they keep talking about the housing shortage or the lack of affordable housing, again, my spider sense goes off when people start using the same words. Like when every politician uses the same words, the hairs on the back of my neck stand up because I go, something's wrong here. They're all doing groupthink. Nobody's thinking for themselves. When they're all using the same term and they're all using the same phrases, I know that there's not independent thought going on there. And so, yeah, when they say affordable housing is our biggest problem, affordable housing is the problem. A lack of, in fact, you hear that exact phrase, a lack of affordable housing. It does kind of say, what are we doing? What are we talking about here? What's reality on all of this? Let's see. How is there housing shortage when people are moving out of subsidized housing when they get a refund? Because I think they're moving to somebody else's subsidized housing. I don't know. I don't know where they're going. I think they're going to other places. I will tell you this, Mrs. Riffin's a school teacher, and a lot of these kids, she will tell you, go somewhere else. Because a lot of these poorer families, they have families spread out all over the place, and they'll send kids to different places. And they'll disappear out of the school. They'll just be gone. And then 3 months later, they're back in school, and they've been in, North Carolina for 3 months. It's kind of crazy. End result of these programs is always devaluation, which in the end completely nullifies any intended consequences. There you go. No. All right, let's see what we got. Oh, Mrs. Rifen chimes in. I think there's a relationship between the floor you were talking about in terms of economics and what these school systems across the nation have done by saying students cannot make a certain grade below a certain grade, or we have to give it to them. Yes, that's a pivot to something different, but it's very similar. Yeah, I mean, if they won't let you give below a 60, then that suddenly becomes the floor. Sure, and everybody else's grade above that is kind of worthless to a certain extent, because you did 40 points better than this other kid, but this other kid really got a 0. So yeah, that's the thing. Number 62 made it. Glad to see you there. You want to get annoyed on how people should pay but don't? Watch Caleb Hammer, especially the recent one with the blue-haired moron. Is Caleb Hammer, is that a YouTube thing? Apparently, it's a YouTube thing. I've been injured. Need to hear the ambulance chaser answer. Like, just stop it. I don't know what that is. Just a giant leak. That's a link from YouTube. Like my link. Okay. Well, as long as we can like and subscribe, I'm okay. We were at 688 last time I checked. Let's take a quick look and see where we are. Again, I'd love to get this. Oh, we're at 689. We got one more. I would love for us to get to 700 before I get out of here. But because Mrs. Rifen said you might be at 700 in a week or so, and I was like, no, I want it faster, more intense. And we may not get there today, but that's okay. We'll get there in time, because we've already been going almost an hour. Lack of free housing. There you go. No child left behind was the worst thing to happen to our education. I don't know if it was the worst, but it was not good. But I also think, one of the things that has happened is, like, Republicans set the tone for a lot of this stuff, but they let a lot of liberals just kind of hang out in the shadows. And so we had things like, injecting race and gender into places where race and gender don't belong. In fact, I see a lot of that still to this day. But there's one of the things that's happened, and it's happened here in Glenn County too. They let the liberals continue to make policy decisions, and the overall governors of it are conservatives, but somewhere in the shadows is a bunch of liberals in the middle of it, and that's not a good thing. 30% increase in housing costs due to illegals, that can be a problem. Although, again, if they're from Mexico, there's 87 of them in a house anyway, so that shouldn't matter a whole lot. Some of these people use their knowledge of how to cheat the system, put it towards something meaningful and gainful, like contributing to society. A lot of our problems will be solved. Oh, Department of Education was the worst thing to happen. I think you may be the winner on that one. It is amazing to me. And again, this could be an example of Taco, by the way. Because remember, when Trump came into office, one of the things this time around he was going to do was eliminate the Department of Education. He put Linda McMahon in charge of it, and she was supposed to start disassembling it. And to my knowledge, we still have a Department of Education. And for those of you who go, oh, we can't get rid of the Department of Education. Why can't we get rid of the Department of Education? The Department of Education was was founded in 1979. What has happened? He 42 scored a point there. The Department of Education being the worst thing. You have to concede that one. That's he got the target with his foil there. But the thing was started in 1979. To show the way government bloat and rot sets in almost immediately, Reagan tried to get rid of the Department of Education. Understand, the Department of Education was started late Carter. Reagan, the guy right after Carter, tried to get rid of the Department of Education, and they went crazy. They went nuts. and he couldn't get it done. He couldn't get it done, or stop some of it. We're too busy. I would accept that if we had gotten in, Trump had gotten into office and immediately started a bunch of wars. But we were a good bit into this. They're just, and the other thing is, let me also say this: fighting a war does not at all stop. I mean, we have an education secretary whose job it was to wind that down. To my knowledge, Linda McMahon is not in charge of any war activity, which means her full-time job of winding down the Department of Education should be uninterfered with by any war. So, yeah, I refuse to accept that premise. Tax the rich is the dumbest idea Liv's ever come up with. Long list of bad ideas. It deters excellence. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right on that front. You're absolutely right on that front. Especially when they say there should be no billionaires. So you get to this point and you just stop. And I'm going to tell you, I know for a fact that works. I can tell you that works. And I know that it works because I'll tell you this iHeart story from way back. And that is, iHeart bought the stations in 2014. And in 2016, I got a call from this guy who's a friend, who's still a friend to this day. He called, I didn't know him then. He introduced himself to me and he said, I'm calling you because I'm in charge of digital for your area. And you guys did not make your web quota last year. And my response was, we had a web quota? Who knew? And he said, yes, you had a web quota. I said, okay, well, what do we do from here? And he said, well, we're having weekly calls. So you have to attend a weekly conference call to talk about ways in which we can up your web quota, your web numbers. And I said, oh, okay. So this was easy for me because I knew that our bread and butter in this market was local news. So I just, I gathered all the troops and I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to focus on finding and breaking local news stories, and we're going to put them on our website, and we're going to link to our website on Facebook, and we'll make our numbers. And so that's what we did. And they set our goal, I think, at 13. I think it was 1,327 unique viewers each month, monthly unique visitors. Yeah, MUV. And they set that goal for us, and we crushed it. And the funny thing was, like people in other markets began to hate us because they would issue this list of what they called percent to goal. So in other words, if we have 1,327, goal of 1,327 unique visitors every month, and we have, 1,250 of them or 1,210 of them, whatever, we're about 90% to goal, and it would say 90% to goal. If we hit 1,327, we're at 100% to goal. We do 1,330, and we're now like at 101% to goal. So our goal at 1,327, we were just crushing it because we just started going out and going, we're going to attack local news stories. We're going to put it out there. We're going to put it on our website. We're going to link people to our website, and we're going to make those numbers. And so we did. And it wasn't anything, we didn't do clickbaity stuff. We just said, hey, here's the story. It's breaking, and here it is at this link. And we were doing 700, 800% of goal, literally to the point that the digital guy that called me, whose name is Rob Whiteside, again, great guy, good friend now. Rob called me one day and he said, I was in New York this week. He said, I was working at the cluster in New York, all the iHeart stations in New York. And I said, yeah. And he said, yeah. And he said, for me to let you guys know that they're sick of you. They're sick of seeing you guys on the top of the list. They want you guys gone. They don't want to hear from you again. And I was like, good, that's great. So the next year, our quota went from 1,327 a month to over 15,000. The next year. I mean, it went up by over tenfold. And I said, all right, guys, we can do this. We're going to do this. We're going to jump on this, and we're going to make this happen. And we did. And so the next year, our goal went up to 25,000. And I got the staff together and I said, we're going to put our feet on the gas, and we're going to make this happen. We're going to do it. It has to happen. And then the next, and we did it. We made the numbers again. We worked our butts off and we made those numbers. The next year, they put our goal out, and it was 40,000 unique visitors every month. Now, understand, the census numbers on Glenn County were at the time 85,000. So basically, we had to have every other person, half of the population of Glenn County had to visit our websites every month, or we didn't make our goal. It's just not mathematically possible every single month. I mean, there may be some month where you have some gigantic thing. We had the Ahmaud Arbery thing, which I didn't take. I did put it on our website. Never mind. I did put it on our website until I was told to take it down by iHeartPeople, who also told me I could post it. But there was a big fire in a prison thing happened in Waycross, and we got huge numbers on that. So a couple of months you can blow that out, but most of the time you're not going to get numbers that equate to half of the people in Glenn County going to your websites. It's just not going to happen. So at that point, what did I do? We talk about, taxing the rich, it deters excellence. This is, to me, kind of the same thing. We got to a point, we were so successful that they raised the bar so high that it was completely not achievable. So we just stopped. And I had that meeting with my staff, and I just, guys, I've been telling you to put your feet on the gas. I'm now telling you to put your feet on the brakes. We can't make these numbers. We're not going to try to make these numbers, because we will, if we break our necks and we absolutely kill ourselves and we happen to get those numbers, they're just going to go way up again. And so, why are we going to do that? Why are we going to put ourselves through that? And so, I just had everybody back off, because there was no real benefit to it, sadly. So yeah, what you're saying is correct. And it, people behave in ways in which they are rewarded, but when they're punished for success, as we were with the websites, and as a lot of people who make a lot of money are, when you're punished for your success, you tend to not pursue that success. Simply put, with the mindset of making subsidized housing cheaper than free, how do you lose an election? Correct. You're talking about Reagan, but yes, Democrat Congress to deal with. Yes, I mean, sort of. I mean, he had Congress was Democrat, but when he first came in, the Senate was actually Republican, barely, but it was, and he lost it in '86. But it really, I'm not even talking about just the Congress and actually having to go through Congress and doing it. When you're talking about Reagan getting rid of the Department of Education, I'm really talking about just the outcry from people in the country, stirred up by Democrats, but the outcry from people in the country. How dare you get rid of this institution that's there for our children? And it was a new thing, but it already had become a deeply entrenched must-have part of the American solution, and it just wasn't. Why dissolve the DOA? That sounds like a very Pam Bondi answer, doesn't it? Raw as war, according to, I don't even know what we were there for. Before the creation of Department of Feds messed up education through the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, the problem became ingrained long before 1979. Fair enough, too. But yeah, it got worse after that as well. The amount of money spilled in education is determined that more money in education would solve the issues. Money is not the root issue at all. No. And that's the funny thing is politicians always throw money at things because it's easy and because you can go back to your constituents and say, look what we've done. We've given you all of this money. And it sounds good because people are conditioned to think, well, if we have more money, then we can solve problems. And it's not. But you see the same thing. We talk about foreign aid. And we've had a lot of people who've called the program, why are we giving a dime in foreign aid until we feed all the people here? Well, first off, it's not the government's job to feed all the people here. Secondly, if we cut all the foreign aid off, it is about this much of the federal budget. That much. Health spending is this much, and defense spending is this much. People see large amounts of money to them, you and me. It's a large amount of money, but in the governmental scheme of things, it's not. And just spending money, just saying I'm going to spend money doesn't mean that you're going to make things better. And a great example is COVID. They sent people checks during COVID to make things better for all Americans. And what did a huge number of Americans go do? They bought TVs. You couldn't go to Target and get a TV. Why? Because people had spent their COVID money buying TVs. Were the TVs things that were going to help tide them over in the event of losing jobs and losing situations, losing hours at work? No. But that's what they spent the money on. So was the money well spent in the overall? No. It wasn't. So, yeah, the notion the government does it all the time. And Buddy's done it. We've had Buddy on the program. Hey, we're bringing in $6 million for this and $4 million for that. And it's like, great. But is the money going to be spent well? Is the money going to be spent reasonably? And sadly, very often the answer to that is no. Wow, we have gone way over an hour again. Mrs. Rifen hates it when we do this. But I'll just go ahead and tell you a couple of quick updates. Had some meetings yesterday that were good and interesting. I have a big meeting today. I only have one really on the schedule by today. But it's a big one. And there are a couple others that I need to have that I haven't had yet, and we'll get to it as well. Debbie, in the time you've been with us on this chat, it's probably adding up to more than you did in 3 hours of the radio show. It's funny. It not quite. It doesn't quite. Because I was doing the math on that yesterday. We did, after I revised the clocks, I would say before I revised the clocks, we did about 31 minutes an hour of talk content. After I revised the clocks, we had about 32 minutes of talk content per hour. So, yeah, it would be like an hour and 36. But yeah, it's a lot of talk time. It's a lot of talk time. And I will tell you this, my throat felt it yesterday. My voice was, whew. I was surprised at how ragged out my voice was yesterday afternoon. Very. Most of the COVID subsidies were fraudulent. Well, certainly a lot of the PPP loans were. A lot of the PPP loans were. And strangely, a lot of politicians had fraudulent PPP loans. In fact, a lot of Georgia legislators had fraudulent PPP loans. I will also tell you that the Democrat Party of Florida engaged in a lot of this fraudulence as well, but they never brought charges. I don't know why, but Chancellor Rodriguez was in the legislature at the time, and he had a lot of the evidence. He kind of laid out the case for me at one point, and it was a very clear case that the Democrat Party of Florida engaged in fraud, COVID fraud, and why they never went after them, I don't know, but it was there. Quit whining, keep talking. No, I was in pain yesterday. You can ask Mrs. Rifen about this, because like we had to go out and run a lot of errands yesterday and do things. And I kept going, let's stop somewhere and get some drinks with some ice in it. Let's stop somewhere and get something with some ice, because ice is my thing for my throat. And although I do heat as well, I do both. But heat is really when there's mucus, when you have phlegm and stuff like that. Heat is really good at clearing that out. Warmth, I should say, not heat. You don't want to boil your vocal cords. But ice is, to me, the soother. And yeah, yesterday all day I kept going, can we stop somewhere and get some ice? Something with some ice in it. I'd like to get something with some ice in it, if you don't mind. Let me really quickly, because I didn't do this, and I apologize for this. But no, caffeine, yeah, I've heard that many times from people that caffeine is not good. It's weird. You ask different people and they have different things. Like, I interviewed a woman, what is her name? Veronica. She played Ash on Pokemon. And I was really curious because, again, you have days where you struggle when you use your voice as much as I do. And I've done voice acting and that kind of thing too. And her thing was always room temperature water, just room temperature water. And she lived by it, died by it, swore by it. I can't. That's not a thing for me. The cold really does help me. But room temperature water, I mean, just keeping hydrated and keeping, water in your flaps up there is good. But, I kind of need to add to that. Oh, so anyway, I didn't go into, and I should, sorry, I didn't go into this and why there's a very easy solution to this. Jacksonville Bureau Chief just sent me the Caleb Hammer thing. Oh, so I know that guy. He's the guy that sits down with people and talks about their financial situation. Is he that guy? because I remember him having like a couple, like one of the people in there was illegal or something. Talking about Scott's mucus. Hey, you know what? We have animated mucus on TV. Now we have, Mucinex commercials. They literally have animated mucus on TV. So I think I can talk about it a little bit these days. Phlegm too. It's nice not to have the garbage advertising. Yeah. Okay. Financial. Okay. So yeah. So I do know who he is. Okay. So I've seen a few clips of his that have gone viral, and they are interesting. So yeah, I'll take a look at that link that you sent. But let me really quickly circle back around, as Jen Psaki would say, and the Sapelo thing. Michael Hall's piece, a proposed new set of zoning rules written for one of the last intact Gullah Geechee communities in the Southeast, was tabled Tuesday by the McIntosh County Planning and Zoning Commission after numerous people voiced opposition to it, and the county attorney said it should go back to the drawing board. The ordinance was created as a second attempt to rewrite the rules for building new homes in the Hog Hammock community on Sapelo Island. The proposed rules would allow primary homes on lots in the district to be as large as 1,800 square feet and 35 feet tall. In the latest episode in a saga that began in 2023, when the McIntosh County Commission voted to enact a zoning amendment in Hog Hammock that would have allowed homes as large as 3,000 square feet of interior space, more than twice the size of rules in place for decades that limited homes to 1,400 square feet. Hog Hammock residents who are descendants of freed slaves and who still practice West African traditions said larger homes would lead to increased property values and property taxes and essentially push them off their land in favor of wealthy outsiders. That is a real concern. I can solve this. McIntosh doesn't have its version of Scarlett Williams. Savannah Chatham's got it. I don't remember what it's called there, but basically it's a thing that has to be passed on a county by county basis. It has to be passed at the state legislature. But once it is passed, your property valuation is locked in until you either make a material improvement to the property or you sell it. And that's it. Your valuation never changes. The only thing that can change, your taxes can go up if they raise the millage rates, they go down if they lower the millage rates. But your actual valuation for tax purposes will not change if you put that into effect. McIntosh County does not have that. Many communities in the area do have it. Again, Glenn County's version of it is called Scarlett Williams. But basically, you get your legislative delegation to go to Atlanta and you say, hey, we want to pass this thing where the property tax valuation never increases while somebody lives in their home. That way, people can't be pushed out of their homes. And then that way, people who actually want to build in this wonderful community can do so. And people who are historic landowners in the community who would like to sell that land and put a little cash in their pockets can also do that. And at the same time, people who want to stay there for the historicity of it, that's a real word, they don't get penalized because of somebody else trying to upgrade the property next to them. They'll be fine. It works out. Go, whoever the legislative delegation is that covers McIntosh County, go get a Scarlett Williams style bill. Go get a property tax valuation lock-in bill passed in the legislature, and you'll be good. You'll be done. You'll be toast. You'll be perfect. That's all there is to it. So, that having been said, covered everything I need to cover. I'm glad you guys were here today. Please, let's try and get some subscriptions on YouTube. We made huge progress in the last 24 hours. Again, before we started yesterday, we may have been about 640. Oh, we're at 694 now. I told you I wanted to get to 700 before we bowed out today. We are at 694. I was about to go. I was about to wish you a happy day and be careful and don't get sucked up by this 105 to 110 degree heat index thing. But then the question is, do I just stick around here until we get 700 on YouTube? Because we're at 694 already. Oh boy, that's good. This has been really, really good progress. Now I really need to go because I have a lot of things going on. I have a big meeting at 12:30 today that I really want to be ready for. And just again, many things happen. There's some phone calls that I got to make today, some meetings that I need to be having that I have not had, that I'm going to have, and I got to get those out of the way as well. I have to reach out to the attorney and see where things stand there. We just have a lot of things going on. It's good to see Holy Ghost Trucker out there. And he says hello to Diane. That is fantastic and good to have you there. Good to have everybody here. Thanks for joining us this morning. This has been fun. Let's see. You missed the YouTube link. Well, here, let me give it to you. If you're going to subscribe, let me give it to you right now. It is just youtube.com/@ScottRifen. That's it. Not tough. Easy to remember, easy to know, easy to get there. youtube.com/@ScottRifen. You do have to put the @ there or else. Let's take a real quick update just to see we're still at 694. Okay. So we have not picked up anybody new in the last couple of minutes. So that tells me we're probably not going to do 700 during this broadcast, but we will get to it. And Diane, yeah, the bad thing about everybody convening and talking, it's good that we get to chat in the chat. But I was planning on testing phones out this week, but things are kind of working in a different direction now that I may not need those phones. So I'm not testing out phones this week because I don't have anything to test at this point. But again, what I would like to be able to do is have something going by August where we can talk to each other. And I'm hoping to be able to do that. It's just going to depend on what some people say and what I sign and what becomes of what I sign, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we shall see over time. All right. We picked up 2 in the last couple of minutes. So we actually may get to 700, but I'm going to go ahead and go anyway. Oh, don't make me say, I feel like Michael Corleone all of a sudden. I feel like Michael Corleone all of a sudden. Just when I think I'm getting out, you pull me back in. No, I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. My mortgage went up 300 to 400 in the last 6 years, Glenn. Okay, but did your tax valuation go up? And if it did you file the appropriate paperwork? You do, to claim your Scarlett Williams exemption in Glenn, you do have to go down to the Jeff Chapman's office, the tax commissioner's office, and fill out a piece of paper. And that will freeze your tax valuation forever, basically. I mean, if you live forever, but you won't. No offense. But it'll freeze your tax valuation until such time as you either, again, materially improve your property or, hi, lady, until you materially improve your property or until you sell it. And then it'll reset to whatever the actual value is. But it'll hold that value down at whatever it was when you locked it in. But go to Jeff Chapman's. If you don't know about this, if you don't think you're there, if you know, you don't know, you think you know, go to Jeff Chapman's office and talk to the folks there. He has a really good, smooth operation going there. And he'll be able to tell you if you have qualified for that, which means filled out the paperwork, if you are actually operating under that now, or if you're not operating under it now. You'll know. And then they'll allow you to do it. You'll be able to sign the paperwork and get it taken care of for whenever the next time they do the assessment is. And you'll be frozen at that rate. Now, the good news is if we have some kind of a big crash, a 2008 style crash, and it goes down instead of up, you can lock in at the lower level. You can do that. So it's a really good program for people who plan on, particularly those of you who plan on just living in your home for the rest of your life. I don't know that that's the thing that a lot of younger people are doing, because I see a lot of younger people just buying houses. As I said, at one point, they were all trying to get tiny homes, and now they're buying nice houses, but they're buying a bunch of them. But if you are planning on just staying in your home, you're planning on getting old and dying in your house, like I'm planning on doing, that tax benefit will be huge for you. It will be huge for you. 912-264. Oh, there you go. No ads for erectile dysfunction. Do they know stuff? That's between you and them. I know nothing. I know nothing at all. Oh, don't forget also that poker run this Saturday. I got an email about that. We mentioned it yesterday. And I think this is pretty cool. Oh, wow. I just got an email from one of our guys who is, so the name you're using is not actually your name. Okay, got it. I'm so glad, because you are absolutely one of my favorite people. I'm very glad that you're there and you found it, and you're there. Anyway, there is a poker run, and I'm pretty sure it is this weekend, this Saturday, and Alan West is going to be there, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, and it's going to be at the American Legion. And so, yeah, it's going to be a thing. Definitely get involved in that. In numero 162, I knew none of this, Dan. None of it. Dan actually helped me title the thing today, and we didn't actually get into that story. I had several people. So yeah, okay, I'm stuck on here because we got to do something else here. I had several people send me this story yesterday, and it's a flock camera story. And we were just talking the other day about flock cameras and and actually crime being solved by flock cameras. And so there's a story a couple of folks sent, and Tim Allen was one who sent me this as well. Not the tool man, but yes, the tool man. And it's a JCL story, and it basically is that there were 5 police officers in Albany who were arrested for illegally accessing the data on a flock camera. And 5 of them, Tatiana Davis, age 27 of Albany, Jade Jackson, age 32 of Albany, Nicholas Richardson, age 30 of Albany, Brittany Smith, age 23 of Albany, Isaac Whitus, 24 of Albany, all charged with misuse of the flock cameras, basically. And some people sent it to me and said, here, this is interesting, worth discussion. Some people sent it to me because they were going, hey, the flock cameras, they're evil and can be misused. And here's the thing, like, lots of things can be misused. There are police officers who have misused guns. Should we stop having police officers have guns? Sane people know not. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. The poker run's July 25th. The meet at the Legion's July 24th. Okay, so we got a little bit of time. It's not this weekend. It's the weekend after our trip. Okay, that's how I'll remember that. I had it in my email, but I didn't have it ready to go. If there's a flyer, I'll post the flyer on the graphics here. But anyway, so it was interesting that we had this story of the flock cameras being misused. But what I see is people misused the flock cameras. It was illegal. They were caught doing it, and they were charged. So in other words, the system worked exactly the way it should have. Again, anything can be misused. Then we had the story of Thomas Linder that Dan sent. And I thought this was interesting because this was a story from several months ago where he is driving his truck and there's a collision, and he leaves the site of the collision, and the officers use the flock cameras to locate and identify his truck and make the arrest essentially through using flock technology. So the lady who was hit, and this guy ran, allegedly, because I don't think it's been adjudicated, but this lady would not have had any justice had it not been for the flock cameras, because the guy got out of there and there were no credible witnesses that could tell him where the guy went. And the flock cameras saved him. So, I think the flock cameras on net will be a positive. And again, I go back to a lot of the how dare they photograph us in public, but we've got those First Amendment auditors who are doing the exact same thing. Just, they're just not cops. All right, so let's take a look here. Oh, Jamie said, good morning. Hello, Jamie. The poker run, this is on July 25th, the poker run that Alan West is going to lead. And again, I love that you got Alan West. I had such a great time meeting Alan West a couple of months ago. I loved it. Poker run starts at the American Legion, ends at Silver Bluff. That's a good place to end it. We need one more for 700. Really? We're there. Let's see. Let's take a look. 700. We hit 700 before we got out of here. I would have some big animated graphic. I didn't know if I would do it or not. Trey, love you, Trey. We get 700. We did it. Scott Rifen answers his cell. Hello, welcome to Straight Talk, Scott. No, No, I do not. I do not, and I will not. All right, we hit 700, so I'm going to go now. I've held you hostage long enough, and we've talked about all the things we need to talk about, and then we talked about more things. I'm done. And yeah, we've almost, you know, in like deference to what Debbie was talking about earlier, we've almost done 3 hours of talk show content this morning with no commercials, no breaks, no stops. Again, I can't promise that will be the case forever because at some point I have to feed my family. But my family has agreed that until such time, they will just stop eating. So we're okay until the time where they have to start eating again. And then we're going to have to put some ads on here. So I apologize for that in advance, but it's a thing. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have fun. Thank you for getting us to 700. Now I'm going to start nagging you about 800 because the goal is 1,000 plus. But thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Be warm. No, don't be warm. Be cool. Stay. Stop laughing at me. Stay hydrated. Say hi to Lady who just keeps butting in here this morning. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Have fun.